Hello, St. Patrick's friends and family and St. Patrick's Church. Mark here. I want to answer the question, why do we go to church? Why church at all? I have encountered numerous people over the past few years who have replaced actual attendance of church, going to a place and gathering for worship, with things like podcasts or videos or Bible study on their own. And they say things like, I'm a Christian, why do I need to go to church? And I think it's a huge issue in our society. Never before have we lived in a culture or a time where this was even conceivable. With the advent of television and internet and all these sorts of things, you can conceivably do these sorts of things. So people think it can be replaced. You even have online church. Now, I don't want to get too much into that sort of thing, but I do think it needs to be addressed. And if I'm honest, I don't think I can address it in a 4 or 5 minute video. So I'm actually going to do a series. We're going to do a series on this over 3 or 4 weeks, depending on how many I can get through. And we'll answer questions like, what is church? What happens with the sacrament? Preaching, gathering, all those sorts of things. And hopefully come to some solid answers and conclusions on why we attend church, why we participate in church on a weekly basis or more frequently. But let me begin with this. Scripture tells us so. It sure seems like from Scripture, it is God's will for the Christian to be involved with a local body of believers. Don't miss that. That Scripture points to the fact that this is God's will for your life if you're a Christian. Now that should carry enormous weight. And for whatever reason, some people think this is the weakest argument, or they approach it as if it is the weakest argument. The Bible tells us so, to gather. But in fact, it should be the strongest, because there is plenty of things that the Bible tells me about myself that I may remain unconvinced about. But what I am convinced about is that the Bible is the truth. And so if there's a disconnect there, it has to do with me. So if I may, as a gentle challenge, if you disagree with this, even a little bit, or you have a little bit of angst in you, whether it comes from I haven't found the right church, or it's too far, or whatever, I don't have any friends, or I don't connect, consider that the Bible tells you you need to be part of a local community of believers. Okay? Let me read this passage from you in Hebrews chapter 10. This is what it says. Let us consider, this is verse 24, let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. So what that scripture is telling us is that this was an issue even in the early church, that they were struggling to be together and to meet with one another. But let me highlight this too, that it says all the more we should be doing this as you see the day drawing near. I find it interesting that some of the people who insist on saying, I can have a quiet time at home, I don't need to actually go to church, we have a church online or whatever, they're the same people who are quick to point out that the world is getting more and more ugly, that things are getting worse out there. And, well, if that's true, then all the more reason to meet together. So this is what Scripture is calling us to do together. And the other reasoning for it is that this is how we encourage one another. Let us consider how to spur up one another to love and good works. How on earth can you do that if you're home by yourself? So, that's step one. Scripture tells us so, and we'll unwrap more of this as the weeks go by, and there's other reasons to talk about this. I hope you tune in with us. As a reminder, we have worship at our location at 10 a.m. on Sundays. We'd love to see you there. God bless. See you next time.